Hello and welcome to those who are joining us on live streaming devices such as LinkedIn and YouTube. We're just waiting for a few more people to join and then we'll get started. So welcome to this Women in Africa talk titled Confident and Killing It. I'm Lisa Marie Mishtak. I'm a journalist and I'm also the UK ambassador for the Women in Africa initiative. Today, I'll be in conversation with Tiwalola Ogunlesi. She is a confidence coach who specializes in positive psychology. She's an international speaker, a podcast host, an author and founder of Confident and Killing It, which is a purpose-driven organization and community that aims to wake women up to their worth so they can be confident, unstoppable, and dare to live the lives that they truly desire. So welcome, Tiwalola.
Thank you so much, Lisa Marie. And hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
So we're going to be in conversation for about an hour. For the first 40 minutes, it will be a conversation between Tiwalola and myself, and then we'll open the floor for a Q&A for about 20 minutes. So please do post any questions that you might have in the chat box or wherever you're viewing this, send some messages and I'll endeavour to put them towards Tiwalola for her to answer. So without further ado, let's get into this talk. So I've just mentioned very briefly about Confident in Killing It. Can you tell us a bit more about what exactly it is?
Yes, absolutely. So as you said, and you described it beautifully, it is a movement. It's a media organization that really our mission is to wake women up to the greatness inside of them. Because I notice a lot of the media we consume makes women feel insecure about themselves, makes them feel like they're not good enough and they don't have anything to offer, or they're being blamed for something, or their voices aren't being respected. So I really just wanted to create a community and media where women could have a safe space where they could wake up to the greatness inside of them, master their minds, get really practical steps to build their confidence, and really live life on their own terms. There's nothing I want to see more than women winning. And so the organization that I've created is essentially that, to help women win in life on their own terms.
Mm-hmm. And what's the reaction been so far? You've been running it for a few years.
Yeah.
How is it? How has it grown?
Incredibly well. So I started it as a side hustle when I was working my full-time job. I would go and speak at universities, and then a natural progression when I quit my full-time job to run Confident and Killing It full-time in 2020. I started getting opportunities to run for workshops for corporate organizations. So now I have the Confident and Killing It podcast, where as a coach, I share like practical tips, inspiration, mood boosters. I have the corporate side where I go into companies like Google, Facebook, Deloitte, TikTok, Morgan Stanley, and run employee well-being and engagement workshops for them. I have my Confident and Killing It Academy, where I have coaching, community, and courses all in one place. So if you want to learn in an interactive setting and have accountability groups, you can come and join the academy as well. So all of this I literally launched in the space of like a year and a half. The pandemic was a very, very challenging time because my whole business plan was about in-person this and in-person that, and everything got canceled. And so I really had to pivot and start doing things online. And it has, the growth has just been incredible. From March 2020, where I had like no work whatsoever, by December of 2020, I had started working with some of the biggest organizations in the world. So it really has been an exciting journey. And this year I announced my book. So it's all coming together really nicely.
It's incredibly impressive in such a short amount of time. Now, one of the things that you just mentioned is your podcast, Confident in Killing It. I was listening to it earlier today and I listened to the very first episode. And in that episode, you spoke about yourself and the fact that confidence wasn't necessarily something you were born with. It was something that you trained yourself to be. So can you tell us a bit about how that process went for you. How did you tune in and like essentially grow that confidence within yourself?
Absolutely. So I was quite an insecure teenager. I don't know if anyone suffers from comparison in the chat. Let me know so I know I'm not alone. I was always comparing myself to other people, always comparing what I looked like, my body, my grades. And my mind was just such a mess. My mind was so negative all the time. And I would tell myself I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't pretty enough. And it wasn't until I was 21 where I started my personal growth journey. And that all started with reading a book called 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. And in that book, I learned that growth is intentional. Because when I was 21, I was like, when I'm 25, I'll be grown, I'll be making money, life will be good. And then you get to 25 and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? You know, adulting can sometimes feel like a bit of a scam. So learning that I had to be intentional with my growth, that the woman I wanted to be in the future wasn't just going to happen every year as I got older. I had to create her. I had to begin to nurture her and program my mind for the successful woman that I wanted to become. And so that started off with, you know, knowing what am I good at doing? What are my strengths? What am I passionate about? And then I had this thing called your power circle, where you align your strengths and your passions together. And that's where you will really be unstoppable. And so I think one of the reasons why I have grown so much in such a short period of time is because I am living in alignment with my strengths and my passions. So every day when I show up at work, it doesn't feel like work necessarily. I feel like I'm living in purpose. And that just gives me next level productivity, next level motivation, next level energy. And also people can see it. When you're living in alignment, there's like a glow and an energy around you. And so a lot of my opportunities have come to me through word of mouth. So it's kind of like the moment I realized that I had the power of choice to make my mind work for me rather than against me, I started being very intentional with building my confidence.
So you mentioned aligning with your strengths and interests. What advice would you give for someone to try and identify those strengths that they have?
Yeah, really good question. So the first thing to kind of ask yourself is, you know, what comes natural to you? What are some of the things that you can do with ease that maybe other people can't do? But even if other people can do them, it doesn't really matter that much. It's more about looking at you and your life and your journey. What do people usually compliment you for? What do they praise you for? And also, when you want to help people, what skills do you use to do that? And as a community of, you know, entrepreneurs or whatever it is that you're doing in life, that was how I really discovered my purpose. I started off volunteering as a youth leader, where every Friday I would go and hang out with a group of young people and I would just encourage them and answer their questions and, you know, be a mentor. And they would always come up to me at the end like, Tiwa, what you said really resonated with me. Tiwa, the way you ran that workshop for us was so great. And so I began to see that I had a gift for speaking and for kind of like taking really complex topics around personal growth and demystifying it and like making it in a way that it was so relatable to the average person. And so that kind of sparked my curiosity. And that's another thing with your strengths. Follow the curiosity. People keep telling you, oh, you're really good at this, you're really good at that. Follow that curiosity and see where it takes you. And then when it comes to some of the things that you're passionate about, think of, you know, I always say, what do you dream about? What do you cry about? And what do you talk about? So wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me to talk about something to empower women in any way, I will wake up and talk to you about that. Wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me to talk about, I don't know, NASA and rocket ships, I will not be able to talk to you about that, okay? Because I'm not passionate about that. So knowing like what's something you love talking about, as soon as that topic comes on, you literally light up. What's something you dream about, you know, when you're daydreaming about your life and your future, where do you see yourself? And what's something that really breaks your heart that you really want to do something about it? And that was where that was what really hit the nail on the head for me when I created Confident and Killing It. I was an insecure teenager, but I managed to move out of it. And when I was working as a youth leader, I was surrounded by teenage girls who were also insecure. And I said to myself, like, how are we almost 10 years later from when I was a teenager? I'm seeing the same generational cycle over and over again from woman to girl. And I'm like, this is not okay. Women and girls deserve to love and believe in themselves. It was literally breaking my heart seeing teenage girls come and talk to me, telling me they don't feel confident, they don't love themselves. And so it motivated me to really do something about it. So think of something that really breaks your heart, a problem in the world that really upsets you so much that you really want to be the person to solve that. And then find something that combines your strengths and your passions together, and that will be your power circle.
Was there ever a time when you first started this that you felt insecure or not as confident to push forward and put yourself out there?
Oh my gosh, of course, absolutely. I always say confidence is not an absence of fear and self-doubt. Confidence is feeling the fear and self-doubt, but doing it anyways. So yes, I'm a confident person, but I still get scared. I still have my fair share of my insecurities. And if you go on my Instagram page, I have a highlights called struggles, where I share the struggles that I experience, even though I'm a very confident person. And I do that to show people that confidence is not perfection. Right? When you're starting your journey and you're feeling confident, you will have days where you're feeling nervous and you're feeling fearful. For example, there was a day where I was going to post a video on Instagram, and the video I was posting was about how to love and believe in yourself. But before I posted that video, I was literally shaking in my room because my negative thoughts were telling me, like, who do you think you are? Oh, you think you're Oprah now? Oh, your skin isn't clear enough for you to be on camera. Your voice is too deep. People are going to laugh at you. This is cringe. Don't post it. Don't post it. Don't post it. And that is what your negative thoughts will do to you. I like to call her the mean girl in my mind, right? The mean girl in your mind takes you away from your calling, from your dreams, from your purpose. And so in that moment, I had to remind myself that the message in me is bigger than the fear I feel. And that's a key message I want to share with anyone today. If you've got a message inside of you, if you've got an idea, if you've got a dream, that dream and message is so much bigger than the single fear you're feeling about showing up and taking action in your life. So ever since that day, when I posted that video and it basically ended up going viral, so I found out all the negative thoughts I was telling myself were a lie. And that's another thing. Fear is a lie. I like to say fear is a negative thought of something in the future that has not even happened yet. So let's say you want to apply for a promotion at work, or you want to launch a business, and your negative thoughts are saying, what if no one buys your product? What if no one cares about what you have to say? What if everyone says you're a failure? What if people laugh at you? What if is not a guarantee. It's not 100% fact it's going to happen. It's a possibility. You might pitch your idea to someone, they might like it, they might not. And I think we just have to learn to lean into the positive possibilities of our life, because the negative possibilities are always going to be there. And so are the positive ones. And we have to make a choice. Which direction do we want our life to go down? Do we want to visualize all the things we don't want to happen happening? Or do we want to spend our time and our energy visualizing what we actually want for our life? So that's the technique I use to overcome my fear. And pretty much don't let fear get in the way of anything. I still feel it, but I don't let it get in the way. And I think that's the most important thing.
And what about the people around you? How supportive are they in terms of the work that you're doing now, and also at the very beginning?
I've been so lucky to have the most amazing family and parents. Both my parents are entrepreneurs. So I remember the day I told my dad I quit my job. He was like, amazing. I'm so proud of you, right? And telling your African parent that you're quitting your job to be an entrepreneur is usually like, what the hell? Like red flags everywhere. But because my parents were both entrepreneurs, they're both creatives, they've been so supportive every single step of the way. I grew up in a family with very strong women. My grandma was a pioneer. My mother is a pioneer. And I've always grown up seeing that there is nothing that a woman cannot do. Like there is the sky is the absolute limit. So I've always grown up believing that if I want to do something with my life, I can absolutely do it. And I'm so thankful to my mother and my grandmother for living their dreams, for taking action, for breaking all the rules and breaking all the boundaries, because seeing them live their lives in such a full way made me believe that it was possible too. So yeah, I've been surrounded by the best support system. And actually, that is a big part of building confidence, because you can be the most confident person internally, but if you're surrounded by negative people or toxic people who are bringing you down with their energy, it can really affect your confidence. So yeah, I think it's so important to be surrounded by people who believe in you. But also, if they don't, that's not your problem, right? I was lucky enough to have people who believed in me, but at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself. And your opinion of yourself matters more than what anyone else thinks. So yes, it's amazing to have support, but even when you don't have support, if you believe in it and you think your idea or whatever it is you're doing is going to work, then lean into that energy and go find people who do support you, you know?
And the work that you've done with women, and also I'm thinking about entrepreneurs, business leaders, what advice can you give to them to just be a bit more confident in the work, whether it's trying to get more finance or it's starting up? What advice would you give?
I think the first thing I would say is you matter simply because you exist. You matter simply because you exist. Your worth doesn't depend on how much money you have, where you were born, the quality of your English, your gender, your idea. Your worth doesn't depend on any of that. The fact that you are alive and you are here means that you matter. So don't disqualify yourself from opportunities because you think you're not good enough. I think the first thing to believe is that you are worthy, whether you have a productive day or an unproductive day, like your life still matters. And so when you operate from a place of who I am right now is good enough, even though there is room for improvement, even though I am still on a journey and I'm growing and I'm evolving and I'm learning, my starting place is good enough. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is knowledge and capability are not the same thing. So just because you don't know how to raise money, just because you don't know how to sort out the technical parts of your business, doesn't mean you are not capable of getting there. So instead of fake it till you make it, I prefer learning and leveling up. You learn and you apply your knowledge and you take action and you level up. And so life is a continuous journey, and you don't need to disqualify yourself because you don't have the answers. No one has all the answers. You see learning as your superpower. And so you can take time to practice, to learn what you need, apply it, and then keep growing. And then the final thing I would say is to get sassy with the mean girl in your mind. I mentioned earlier, those negative thoughts that keep telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that, people are gonna judge you, all of those things. We have to learn to question them and turn down the volume of the negativity and turn up the volume of the positivity. So when a thought comes into your head, I always like to say, if it sabotages you, bin it. If it empowers you, run with it. So if a thought tells you, who do you think you are to apply for that loan, right? You're not good enough to do that. That thought sabotages you. That takes you away from the woman or the person you want to be. So what are you going to do? You don't just say, yes, okay, I guess I'm not good enough, I give up. No, you come with some energy, right? You got to get sassy with it, and you got to defend yourself and come up with something more empowering. And that's why the first thing I said was know your strengths, because when you know your strengths, you can use your strengths as ammunition to create those positive affirmations, to create those empowering sentences that you can use to challenge the negative thoughts when they arise.
How is self-confidence for some not bragging? Some people might just be authentically themselves and confident and have it. Would you say that there's a line between bragging and being confident, and how would you differentiate between the two?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked that question. confidence and arrogance are not the same thing. And a lot of women don't like to celebrate themselves and promote themselves because they are so afraid of being seen as bragging or arrogant and things like that. But there's actually a difference. When you're arrogant, you have a scarcity mentality where you feel there's only room for one person to be at the top. And so you want to push everyone down so that you can show that you're capable. Okay. Somebody else winning means you're losing and you don't like that. So you want to show you're winning, and to show you're winning, you push other people down and make them feel bad about themselves. Now, a confident person has an abundance mindset and they go, I'm amazing, she's amazing, he's amazing, they're amazing. We can all be amazing together. And my greatness doesn't affect your greatness. And so confident people use their light, use their strengths and their power to lift other people up, whereas arrogant people share and promote to push other people down. So it's so important to look at the intention behind why you're sharing something. I think it was Sir Edmund Burke that said, people who want to do good in the world need to be just as loud as people who want to who are pushing the fear and the negativity and the racism and all of those things. So everybody joining in today is doing something amazing. You're doing something to impact the world in a positive way. There is no award for being the world's best kept secret. Imagine you have the cure to malaria, but you're afraid you come across as bragging, so you don't share it with anyone. Right? So there's a big difference between going, hey, everyone, look at me, I'm the best, you're the worst, versus, hey, everyone, look at the amazing things I've been able to achieve. I want to inspire someone else to go and do that too. I want to show you what I've been able to create so that you can join me and we can make it bigger and we can achieve something positive in the world. So if you look at the energy between those things, it's so, so different. So you've got to check, what are your intentions? And also, are you sharing so you can lift others up and inspire them and have greater impact? Or are you sharing to say, hey, everyone, look at me, I'm great, and you're not?
Now, I want to talk about the flip side to this, which is imposter syndrome, when someone might not necessarily feel as though they're qualified to be in the position that they're at or to be doing the things that they do. What are your thoughts on imposter syndrome and tackling it?
Yeah. Imposter syndrome is just temporary memory loss, where you have forgotten all the amazing.
I like that, temporary memory loss.
It's temporary memory loss. Think about it. You walk into that boardroom and you're going, do I deserve to be here? Everyone else is super smart. Everyone else has better opinions than me. What if they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? It's memory loss, because if you look back at your life, if you look at the steps you took to get you into that room in the first place, you will see that you are more than qualified to be sitting at that table. But we forget, because we fixate on our insecurities and our shortcomings, and we totally forget all the other amazing things about us. You know, when something happens, like something positive happens, we act like it's a flaming arrow of fire coming at us that we have to dodge. I don't know if this happens in a lot of African countries, but especially in the UK, if you compliment a British woman, it's like, no, like, please, no, right? But actually, we need to learn to say thank you. We need to keep track of our accomplishments. So I have a free tool that I'm going to share with everyone called my monthly wins tracker. And every single month, I have a massive spreadsheet where I go in and I write my small wins and my big wins every single month. So when I'm feeling insecure, when I feel like I've not achieved anything, when I feel like, oh gosh, everyone's life is moving forward and my life isn't, I go back and I look at my wins and I remind myself that actually I am killing it. And it's actually scientifically proven, like positive psychologists have done the research, and they've seen that people who take time to look back at their life with a sense of accomplishment actually feel more optimistic and confident about the future, because you go, if I did it before, I can do it again. Now, if you don't remember what you've done in the past, you're not going to think, oh, I can do it again, because you don't even remember, right? So the biggest and best way to overcome imposter syndrome is to take time every month to track your wins and to celebrate yourself. Get comfortable with owning your accomplishments, because you did that, you know, and it's something to celebrate.
Now, are there different types of ways to be confident? They could be amazing at speaking, or their work can speak for themselves. What different types of confidence are there?
Yeah, I think confidence a lot of people kind of say to me that they want to be more confident, but they're not loud. I don't want to be a loud person. I don't want to be a loud person. And I totally agree with that. Confidence isn't always about being the loudest in the room. And I'm a confident person, but I'm not always the loudest in the room. Sometimes I'm calm and I listen, and sometimes I might be super energetic. But if you're not a naturally loud and flamboyant person, and maybe you're more introverted, you can absolutely still be a confident person. If we look at the definition of confidence, confidence is about an in-depth belief in yourself and your abilities, a willingness to bet on yourself that you can achieve everything you want. That's essentially the official definition of confidence. Do you trust yourself? So you could trust yourself and be more of a listener. And, when you speak with conviction, and you can be very calm, but when you speak, you can speak like, I really believe in what I'm saying. And you can be more energetic and you can be louder. And that's okay too, if you believe in what you're saying and you trust yourself. So I find a lot of people who are naturally introverted feel like, oh, I'm an introvert, I can't be confident. But absolutely, introverts can also be confident too. And your confidence doesn't always have to look like you're facing the camera the whole time and making the most noise on social media or being the loudest person in the room. Can be definitely more calm and just punchy and go with the style that works for you.
Do you have practical exercises that you do maybe on a daily basis that helps you when maybe you're not feeling as confident in yourself?
Yes, so my monthly wins tracker is definitely one, and I'm going to get the link so I can pop it in the chat. So that's a practical thing. Every single month I stop to do that. There's been a lot of links between practicing gratitude and building a positive mindset. And so I will tend to, write 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. And when you do that, if you have a naturally negative mind, writing 3 things that you're grateful for every day begins to program your mind for positivity. Because when you get to the end of your day and you need to write something down, your brain begins to scan your day to see what went well. And the more you do that, the more it becomes your default. So taking a moment to practice gratitude, to write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day and relive those moments is a really good way to challenge your negative thoughts and program your mind for positivity. So writing down your wins, practicing gratitude, and I would say taking action. Confidence is really about action, because when you take action, you send a message to yourself that you can do it, and progress begins to build up. And we are creatures of progress. As human beings, we love progress. When we're not making progress, it feels like our world is falling apart. So I think, have a vision for your life, get into alignment with your strengths and your passions, have a vision, and then break it down and ask yourself, what 3 things can I do today to just get me one step closer to the vision I have for myself or the goal I have for my life? And to learn to prioritize your happiness before the goal and before the success. Not when I achieve this goal, then I'll be happy. That will never happen, because the goalpost is always changing. So prioritize your well-being now in the moment, and that will give you more energy to go for what you want. And then the last tip I will give of a practical thing that I do is to actually know your values, articulate what are the things that are most important to you. Because for me, I define productivity as spending time doing what matters. So if I spend my whole day in meetings that absolutely I don't care about, discussing about things I don't care about, that's not productive. right? But if I spend my day maybe going on a nice walk and then doing some meditation and then a coaching session, doing things that actually matter to me, then that's productive. So I think it's important for us to all articulate what really matters to me and then align our to-do list with those values. So I have about 3 buckets of like my top 3 values, and I align my to-do list under each bucket of something that matters to me. So for example, when I'm doing admin work for my business, not just, oh, admin, I've got to do admin. It's like, no, admin is filed under impact, because without admin, there's no impact. And so when I'm doing the admin, it doesn't feel like admin because it's filed under this is impact, and it makes me more excited and motivated to keep going. So again, if anyone wants like a framework for that, please send me a DM on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to share some links with you.
So from the workshops that you put on and seminars and meetings that you've done, what would you say are some of the key issues people have when they're trying to gain confidence? What's come out maybe top of the list?
I think perfectionism is a big one, and comparison as well. When you're comparing yourself, you're like, oh, this person just did this person just did that, this person just did, and you're always looking left and right at what other people are doing and never straight ahead in your own lane. And if you imagine you're driving a car, right, and you're always looking left and right and never straight ahead, it's a car crash waiting to happen. And that's the same thing comparison does. It takes your eyes off your life and looks at what other people are doing. Now, you can turn comparison into inspiration, but if you're comparing yourself to other people and you now feel terrible whilst everyone else is amazing, that's not even a fair comparison, and that's going to hold you back. So, just be aware. Yes, look left and right from time to time, see what your counterparts are doing, get inspiration, and then focus primarily on your own life. And, perfectionism is just a fear that we're going to show up as who we really are, and we're going to be judged, and we're not going to be accepted, and we're going to be rejected. And so we try so hard to tick all the boxes, to be excellent, right? Especially as Black people living in the world, we have to be excellent. We have to work super hard. But actually, knowing that who you are is good enough just as you are, and your authenticity, there is beauty in your strengths and your struggles. That is so much more powerful than feeling the pressure to always show up and tick all the boxes, because absolutely no one ticks all the boxes. And if you are sacrificing your well-being and your health in order to tick boxes, you're probably going to end up living a very unfulfilled life. Mm-hmm. So just be aware of that fear that holds you back, fear of failure, fear of rejection, and try not to compare yourself to other people. Those are the main things that I really see holding entrepreneurs back.
Now, you went on your own journey to find your own self-confidence. What keeps you going when negative thoughts come in?
Definitely my vision. I remember when the pandemic hit and I was getting cancellation email after cancellation emails after cancellation email. I cried some really ugly tears. I was down bad. But then because I had been investing in my mindset, my intuition kind of kicked in and went, Tiwa, is this the story you want for yourself? That the pandemic happened, you quit your job, you became an entrepreneur, the pandemic happened, you lost everything and you gave up. And I said, no, that's not the story I want for myself. So then I asked myself, what is the story you want? And so I started to write it down. I said, I want my story to be that this is the most growth I've ever experienced in my life. I want to build a global community of women all over the world. I want to, be able to be speaking at this company, that company, and that company. I want to create a movement where women are waking up and they're realizing the greatness inside of them and they're feeling unstoppable. And I wrote all of that down on a piece of paper. And in the midst of the chaos of the pandemic, where my inbox was so dry, my bank account was miserable, I wrote, this is the vision I have for my life. This is what I want to see. And when people did not give me opportunities, when they canceled my opportunities, I created my own opportunities. So one of my favorite words is unstoppable. And I feel like I'm unstoppable, not because my life is perfect, but because I will always bet on myself. I will always, always take a chance on myself. Even when people don't believe in me, even when people don't want to give me an opportunity, I will always either create my own opportunities or find another way to do it. And so in the midst of like my darkest times, the messages I get from people as well, those messages like, I listened to your podcast and I broke up with my ex who was holding me back, or I listened to your podcast and I got a promotion after I went for my review, or I landed that dream job because of you, or, I challenged my negativity and I said yes to speaking on a panel. Those sorts of messages, seeing the impact that my work has been able to do, having a strong vision and seeing that this is legit changing people's lives. There is no dark day that can overcome that ability to say this work has actually woken somebody up and now she's awake and she's taking action and she's going to inspire another person to do it. So I have my days where I've cried and it feels like nobody cares. And it feels like, like it's just so much work to be able to show up in the world at this capacity continuously. But I just think it just feels amazing because I'm in alignment and I'm living in purpose. And so, yes, I get knocked back, but I never stay in that setback. I always find a way to keep going.
Now, you've got a book coming out in July, Confident in Killing It. What are some of the main things within the book?
So it's really like a game plan to confidence. So it's a combination of all my work, bits of the podcast, bits of my social media, and just kind of putting it all in a book where you can have as like almost like a best friend, almost like your own cheerleader for the down days when you're doubting yourself, just something you can have to really begin to thrive in all areas of your life, turn your mind into your friend instead of your enemy, and just like everyday nuggets and mantras to like get you through life and really live life to the fullest. So and it's super, super practical. It's going to be available on the 7th of July. It's available for pre-order now. So I'll also share the link in the chat in case anyone would like to pre-order now, because that really, really does help authors when you pre-order. So yeah, I'll share the link. But like I said, yeah, it's just like a combination of all my work into something super tangible and practical for people everywhere.
So, as well as the book that's coming out and the podcast that you do, what other services do you offer within Confident in Killing It?
So the corporate side as well. So like I said, I've run workshops with like Google, TikTok, Deloitte, Morgan Stanley, Facebook, and loads of different, from tech companies to like communities. And I go in and I have like corporate well-being workshops. So we talk about things from like learning how to get promotion ready and owning your accomplishments to how to manage burnout and stay motivated, how to speak with impact and be a great communicator. What else do we have? Like the power of positivity and how to build mental resilience. So yes, there's that side as well. And then the final pillar is my online academy. So if anyone here wants, like, they feel like, oh, I really want some coaching, or I really want, some courses on confidence and practical worksheets and things like that, I have all of those resources available in my private membership community called the Confident and Killing It Academy.
Okay, what I'm going to do now is open it up for any questions that you all might have for Tiwalola. So please do put some questions in the Q&A section. I already do have a few questions, so I'm going to put the first to you. It's from Patience Chia Godora, and she asks, what one thing have you recently learned or are learning about yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. What one thing have I recently learned about myself? I think I'm really learning to like trust my intuition and like understand my emotions better. So one thing I really struggled with in the past was just because, so I'm the eldest daughter in my family, and any African eldest daughter will understand the weight of that responsibility. And so I've always had to be there for everyone. I've always had to be the strong one. I've always had to, make sure everything was done as best as possible, making sure that my parents were always happy, things like that. And I guess for the longest time, I numbed my emotions and I kind of just buried my feelings because my life was always about, oh, I've got to please. Oh, I've got to serve. Oh, I have to be there for my siblings. And it wasn't until recently that I learned that when you numb negative emotions, you also by default start numbing your positive emotions. And so running away from your emotions doesn't help you in any way. If you want to grow, you've got to learn to sit with the uncomfort of your emotions and feel what is there and journal and meditate, and you end up coming out the other side stronger. So where I was all like, ew, emotions, I don't do vulnerability, I don't do that, I've actually really embraced it. And it's definitely made me stronger. And I've now been able to like tap into my intuition better and connect with my emotions in a deeper way that I feel like even makes my work better as well.
Another question we have is, what role has networking played in your entrepreneurship journey?
So I'm not gonna lie, I personally don't feel like I've done that much networking. And actually I haven't really sent any outbound emails since I started. All my work has come to me through the power of word of mouth. But what I will say is the people who are the gatekeepers, essentially, the budget holders, if you want to work more with corporates, all of those people, they're human. And so connecting with people on a human level, rather than seeing their title, oh, they're the CEO of this, they'll never speak to me. Oh, they're the head of finance here, they'll never speak to me. Just seeing people as people who have wants and needs just as you have. So I've met CEOs and I've spoken to them totally normal, as if they were a normal person. And I've had the head of this come to a workshop for themselves and see how good it was and be like, oh, this was such a great workshop, I need to take it back to my company. So I think just seeing people as people and not their title is like a really important way to build authentic relationships and networking. Also, I think it's important to talk about your work. So I wouldn't necessarily say I've done networking, I've done self-promotion. That is something I've done really well. I've built a strong personal brand. When you think of confidence, you're thinking of Tiwalola, literally it. Because I have positioned myself as a thought leader in my industry. And that has allowed more opportunities to come my way. Because whenever I achieve anything, I share it, but I share it in a way that I'm also adding the lessons I've learned along the way. So for example, when I got my first gig working with Google, I shared that, but I also shared the story of how I got there and the lessons I learned so that somebody else could take that and run with it too. So I think it's very, very important, especially as an entrepreneur. You have to have a personal brand. You have to be known for something. Even if you don't want to be the face of your business, like that's okay, but have a reputation for delivering excellence. And the only way to build a reputation for delivering excellence is to talk about it and to show it, and for other people to begin to know and catch on so that your brand can grow, essentially.
Mm-hmm. We've got a question from Sarah and Jamu, who asks, how do you deal with social media negativity that comes to you, especially when people say negative things on your post?
Really good question. I think it's understanding that, again, going back to what I said earlier, how I see myself is more important than what other people think of me or what other people say to me. So if I believe in what I'm doing and if I like it, that's what I'm going to prioritize. And it was Brené Brown that said, don't take advice from people who are not in the same arena as you. And I think it's important to also note that people who are hurt and unfulfilled inside are usually the ones putting negative content out there to try and bring other people down. So when I see people being mean or saying negative things about me, I actually feel sorry for them, because I ask, like, what is it about me that triggers you? There's something, me is triggering something inside of you. And instead of you dealing with your trauma or your emotions, you're projecting it onto me in a negative light. So I think people who post mean comments or say mean things are actually cowards and are mostly broken. And so I don't take what they say to heart. It's just like, them being mean is a reaction of the insecurity that they're dealing with. And as a person who has emotional intelligence and who is confident, I almost want to help them unpack what's there so they can live life instead of spending their time and their energy being negative to me. So I would say block them out. Don't let that energy affect you. If they're not in the same arena as you, if they're not in the same game and hustle as you, take every piece of advice or comment with a pinch of salt.
Got a question from Claudette Reiser Fon, who asks, is it good to be too confident? Because most people think that that might be kind of narcissistic.
Is it good to be too confident? I'm not sure I get what.
So I think what she's saying is it a good thing to be really confident, because some people might perceive that to be narcissistic.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I said about like confidence versus arrogance. But, you know, I think when people go, oh, she's so full of herself, I'm like, what else should I be full of? Should I be full of their negative opinions? Like, should I be full of all the like self-doubt and anger and bad energy in the world? No, I want to be full of, you know, myself and my strengths and my potential. I want to be awake to that. But I think you can be humble and still be a confident person, right? So my faith is really strong. It plays a big part in my journey, understanding that I'm not superior to anybody. Yes, I'm confident, but I'm not better than anyone. I'm good as I am. And I see other people and I also see them as being good too. I think when you kind of give the air that you're better than other people and you're doing something so special and they're not, that's when it begins to look like, you know, overconfidence and narcissism and things like that. So I think always check your intention and use your light to lift others. If I was holding all my confidence to myself and just being like, hey, everyone, I'm killing it, but you can't touch me because I have all the gems and you don't, that's bad energy. But I'm sharing my knowledge so that I can help other people do the same. And I think that kind of confidence comes across as quite genuine.
Mm-hmm. I've got a question from Francis Kiramini. And they ask, says, thank you for the informative presentation. Please, how are you able to overcome a negative mindset? Please talk about ways of promoting resilience.
Okay, great question. So in positive psychology, there's something called the 5 pillars of well-being. It's called the PERMA model. And so P is positive emotions, E is engagement, which is all about feeling alive, feeling energized, motivated. R is about relationships, whether you're surrounded by healthy relationships, positive people. M is about whether your life has meaning, and A is about your accomplishments and how well you own that. So the 5 pillars of well-being are essentially a kind of, pillars to creating a life where you have good mental, physical, and emotional well-being. So when you're looking at your growth journey, you can look at, okay, how well do I measure up in each of these areas? Do I know how to manage my emotions? Do I feel alive in life? Do I have positive people surrounding me? Do I know what my purpose is? Do I celebrate myself? And if you do all of those things, then, keep going. If you don't, then look at what are the things you do well and what are the things you don't do well. So kind of having that as a base to work on is the first thing. And then the second thing would be, like I said, 3 questions to ask when a thought comes into your head. First question, is this 100% facts or am I making an assumption? So maybe, Francis, give me an example of a negative thought that often comes into your head, so I can, give you a more tailored example. But for example, whilst I'm waiting for that to come in, maybe a lot of people go, what if I speak up and I say something stupid, right? Now, is that 100% facts or are you making an assumption there? A lot of the times we make assumptions about things and about ourselves. They're not true. So focus on what the actual facts is. Next thing, would you ever say that to a friend? Would you ever say to a friend, you're not good enough to start a business? No one's going to buy your products. You're not smart enough to do this job. You're not smart enough to speak up in that room. We are so kind and loving to our friends and family and so mean to ourselves. Why does everyone else get to live their dream life and we are the ones who are stuck and aren't good enough? No. So what I would say is, what would you say to a friend in that moment? When the negativity is coming in, what would you say to a friend? Turn it around and say it back to yourself. And then the last point that I mentioned, if it feels like it's sabotaging you, if it feels like it's taking you away from the person you want to be, write it down on a piece of paper and literally rip it up. Rip it up and throw it in the bin. And then write something more empowering for yourself, but make sure it's based on your strengths. So for example, you can say, the lie is, when I speak up, I'm going to say something stupid. 2, I have been researching this topic for many years. I have put in the work, and when I speak, I usually add value. And if I do say something stupid, it's not the end of the world. I can bounce back from it. So really taking the negative thought, ripping it up, breaking it down, and then creating a more empowering story for yourself. But you've got to do this regularly before the negativity even comes, so that when it does come, you already know your comebacks and your empowering sentences, right? You've got to prep yourself and set yourself up for success. So don't wait till you hear negative thoughts before you start thinking, oh, what's something good about myself? Spend 10 minutes every single day reflecting on your strengths, reflecting on all the things you love about yourself and all the positive things about yourself, so that when the fear and the negativity arises, you already know what you're going to say back to it.
Really useful advice. I can see that there are a few questions asking again about people confusing confidence with pride or being too overconfident. Is there anything else that you might just want to add onto that?
Yeah, no, I think I've said, okay, one more thing maybe is hiding your gifts is not the same thing as being humble. So what you don't want to be doing is hiding your gifts in the name of, I'm a humble person, I'm going to play small. Nobody wins when you play small. Nobody wins when you're an insecure version of yourself. Nobody wins when you dim your light to make another person feel more comfortable because they're sitting in darkness. Nobody wins when that happens. So I think it's important to know that your gift is yours. And it's also a gift to also share with the world. And sometimes people will feel uncomfortable by that, but that is not your problem. And don't be afraid to walk away from situations or environments where they don't appreciate your gift. Because guess what? There will be people out there who appreciate your gift. You just need to shine it bright enough for them to find you and form community with you. So yeah, don't be afraid to shine your light and to share your gifts with the world. Some people won't like it, but I always say, if my light is too bright for you, go put some sunglasses on.
Okay, we've got another question. Can you please throw light on the intricacies of inferiority and superiority complex?
Oh,
so I'm guessing what I'm taking from that is how would you deal with when you're feeling inferior or when maybe you're too confident?
Yeah, I think, yeah, so none of those are healthy. Feeling inferior to other people isn't healthy. Feeling superior to other people isn't healthy. I think I like to go for, like I said, an abundance mindset where there's enough room for everyone to thrive. Okay, that's my mantra. There is enough room for everyone to thrive. There is enough room for all of us to be great. There's enough room for all of us to start our businesses, start a project. Doesn't matter if somebody else is doing it, there is still enough room for all of us to do it. There are like 8 billion people on this planet. Like, no one's going to be in the exact same position at you at the exact same time doing the exact same thing. So there is uniqueness in your story, there's uniqueness in your journey, and that is something that you can embrace. Like I said previously, feeling inferior to other people does not serve you in any way. It really doesn't. Yes, you can serve others, right? But don't serve others from a place of I'm inferior and they're better than me. Serve others because you know you are good and you want to share your gifts with the world, right? You know you have something to offer. You know you are valuable and you want to share that with the world. So yeah, I think it doesn't serve you. It's not healthy to feel inferior. We are all worthy. We are all equal. So just because you see somebody else being successful and winning does not mean you are losing. Okay, there is enough room for all of us to be winners. And that's just a mindset and mentality you can have. That's one I've chosen, and you can choose to think and believe that as well.
Another question I've got is, what keeps you going?
Oh, definitely my faith, definitely like the vision that I have. Like, I want to see a world where being confident is the norm rather than the exception. My goal is to end the generational cycle of low self-esteem in women and girls, because I think every single human being deserves to know their worth and to live from a place where they truly believe that they are worthy and they deserve to be there. So that's what keeps me going. And like I said, the messages that I get from people just sharing stories of impact and, you know, how they're using all of these like tips and nuggets to like change their life and take action. I love seeing women win. So seeing women overcome fear and take action in life, like, it's the best motivation ever. So yeah, those are the things that keep me going.
And apart from your book coming out in a couple months' time, what's next for you? What are the aims with growing the business?
So I have this thing where I ask people not to ask me what's next, because I feel like we live in a world where as soon as somebody has like achieved something amazing, maybe you're like, when you graduate from university, and people are like, what's next? And I'm like, hello, I just graduated. Like, can I bask in this moment a little bit? So I definitely love enjoyment. I go on holiday. I love self-care. I like to have a good time. So what's next after this is probably a season of enjoyment and slowing things down a little bit, and really just basking in this moment, because I never saw myself writing a book at the age of 28. I always thought I would be like 40 or 50 before I wrote a book. So the fact that I've been able to achieve this in my 20s is, to me, it feels absolutely incredible. So I might be ready to retire after this. Who knows?
Now, we've got less than a minute left. So I just wanted to ask, is there anything you want to impart to those who have tuned in today, some wisdom onto them?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, you know, have hope, because you might be thinking, I feel so insecure right now. Imposter syndrome is kicking me. I don't know how I'm going to make this work. I don't believe in myself. Your emotions might be all over the place. And I've been where you've been before. And I want to show you that it is possible. Like, the woman that I am today was built. I was strategically created by being intentional about my personal growth. So, what I would say to you is have hope, because if your confidence has been knocked in the past, or if you feel like your confidence is super low, it can be rebuilt using very practical and easy steps, but you have to commit to the journey. So my final word to you is believe that you are worthy of a life where you feel loved, where you are free, where you are dreaming, where you are taking action. Like, that's not something that's reserved for a minority of people in the world. Every single person deserves that. So if you're not living that kind of life now, do something about it, make better choices, change what you can, and believe that it's possible for you. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Tiwalola. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of this. It feels like it's just completely flown by. I've learned so much, and I hope all of you who have tuned in today have as well. Lola has put some links in the chat box to be able to connect with her. So please do go through that and see that. But thank you very much for tuning in.
My pleasure. I had such a great time. And if anyone has any more questions, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn or on Instagram, and I'll be happy to answer them as well. And also, another big thing that people always say is like, oh my gosh, I love this session so much. Like, how do I hear your voice every single day? The Confident and Killing It podcast is the best place to go if you want more practical tips, if you want to hear more gems on building your confidence as well. And I will share all the links with the WIA team so that they can email it out to everyone if you missed it. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.